You're listening to Stellar Success, Leveling Up for Medical Pros with Dr. Tudor Francu. Join us as we explore how medical professionals can achieve stellar success in all areas of life. It's time to level up.
Hello, Virginia Kruse.
Hi,
How are you?
how are you? Doing well, thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invite.
You define yourself as, and I love this, as a solutionist.
Yes, I love finding answers to problems that
Yes. Can you
people,
tell us a little bit more about your journey and how did you become a solutionist?
I feel like that's just always been who I am. That's who I am at my core. Finding the answers to problems that people have, being willing to think outside of the box. Sometimes it takes a couple days. It can take time to find those answers. If I had to guess how my journey started, I actually can't even pinpoint it because I feel like that's just what I've always done. That's who I am. My journey in healthcare started as a nursing assistant when I was 16. And working in healthcare, a lot of times you have to know how to do more with less. So that's probably where it came from, was having to be able to think quickly on your feet and be able to be innovative in the moment.
Very interesting. Do you think, other than being a solutionist, are you a successful person right now?
I would say yes. I actually feel very successful and I'm very happy with where I'm at in my career. I'm currently the chief operating officer of a senior living consulting company that I also co-own. I get to work with people every day that I love to work with. I get to coach other nurses how to be the best in their roles that they can be. I get to work with advocacy groups to help improve our industry and to help find solutions to problems that we're facing. Just today, I was able to sit in with a technology committee and we were able to talk about how we're using AI to transform our healthcare industry. And that was just really an interesting conversation to have because I think everybody's having that conversation right now. How can we use AI for good? And we really were able just to have that conversation. And we also talked about the use of robots in healthcare and how we can use those to bridge the gaps with our dining experience and how to use it in our activity departments, in environmental services and cleaning, things like that. So really thinking of robots in senior living is just really a crazy thing, but it's working and it's happening.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept. Um, Senior living, assisted living it's a different animal in healthcare.
Absolutely.
It's something that needs special people.
Mhm.
And I can't stress enough the importance of it because, most people think about, childhood care and, developing their skills and going to school and get a good profession and get a good job. But ultimately, a good chunk of our lifetime is spent after retirement.
Mhm.
And how did you get into it?
I stumbled into it actually. So when I was young in high school, I lived in a small town and really the job opportunities were slim. A couple of my close friends worked at the nursing home in town, said, "Hey, why don't you come get a job here with us?" So initially, I actually started in the dietary department as a dietary assistant. When I turned 16, I took the class to become a nursing assistant. And so that is how I got my start. I was actually going to go to college for law. I wanted to become a lawyer out of high school. And when I moved away, I got a job at another nursing home as a nursing assistant. And I worked with two great people, an administrator and a director of nursing, who encouraged me to teach our education portion of our every year education when I was 19. And so they had actually sat me down after this education session and said, "How come you're not a nurse yet?" And my response was, "Well, I'm going to go to school for law. I'm in a criminal justice program." And they shook their head and just said, "No, you were made to be a nurse. You're already a nurse. You think like a nurse. You act like a nurse. You just don't have the right letters behind your name." And they said, "We will do whatever we can to support you to become a nurse. We will give you scholarships. We will work with your school schedule. We will do whatever it takes to get you there." And so for me, I was very lucky. Well, let's take that step back one step. I'm also very stubborn. So I didn't go back to school right away to become a nurse. That took about, I'd say, 4 more years. And then I became a licensed practical nurse. And what I was very lucky about also with that facility is they always trained me for the next level. So as a licensed practical nurse, they were grooming me to become a registered nurse. As a registered nurse, I was already groomed to go into management. They saw something in me. And that's how I ended up where I am, is that I just kept going. So really, I guess I could say this industry found me. And even when I was in nursing school, I know I could have went into a different specialty, but the people in this industry are the ones who've stolen my heart. It's the people that we provide care for. It's the people that I work with. It's their families. It's,
Yeah. What
yeah.
kind of traits do you think someone in healthcare needs to have to work in assisted living?
I think you have to be empathetic and you have to have a lot of compassion because when somebody's going into assisted living, there is the possibility that they are dealing with the loss of independence, and that's going to be a new journey for them. So you have to be able to walk that journey with them and let them express their feelings and be that sounding board. You also have to be that person who's willing to advocate for the person in the assisted living. A lot of times with assisted living, that's actually a business contract. So it'd be a contract between the the person who's financially responsible and between the facility. So sometimes finances don't always match up with what the best care required is. And you need to be able to advocate to say, I understand it's this dollar amount. This is what I'm seeing with my professional judgment. Can we make this work? So really you have to be empathetic, compassionate, able to advocate. You also have to be able to juggle 100 things at the same time because you could have 6 different people waiting at your office door and you don't know what everyone needs, but you have to be able to think quick on your feet and figure out an answer for them.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you a busy medical professional striving to excel in life and work? Stellar Success Podcast brings you the habits and insights of top leaders in medicine and beyond. Discover strategies for balance, growth, and fulfillment in every episode. Follow us on Instagram at Stellar Success Podcast for daily inspiration. Start your journey to success today. Subscribe to the YouTube channel now.
So Virginia, it's interesting. You had such an interesting journey to get where you are right now, but I'm sure you had some setbacks and some things that didn't work out in your life. Can you
Oh
give us
gosh.
an example of something that kind of stopped you in your tracks for a while and made you think and readjust and, go bigger?
Absolutely. So when I actually made the leap to assisted living, I started as a staff development coordinator. Then I went to a different facility as a director of nursing. I did not know boundaries. I was always that nurse who could give more, do more, get 100 things done, and just wear it with a smile on my face. But that place that I was working about 80 hours a week. I would spend the night in the facility to make sure that people were taken care of because we didn't have enough staff. I was on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Within 6 months, I burnt out and I hit a level of burnout that I wasn't sure I'd be able to come back from. I was ready to hang up the stethoscope and just say, you know what, maybe being a nurse isn't for me. I can't do this. I don't have a life. I can't support these people appropriately. And really, it was too much for one person to be trying to take on. And I didn't know how to set the boundaries to say, I can't do this. This isn't a reasonable expectation for any human being. But I beat myself up because of it. And so I ended up leaving that job and I didn't have a job lined up after that. I just left and then I had to take the time to decide, do I still want to be a nurse? After about 3 months, I threw out my application or my resume with a couple different companies, and I ended up landing in a consulting company. And as luck would have it, this was fall of 2019, right before the pandemic started. And going into that, here I was thinking, I'm in a position where I can teach and I know so much and I get to share my knowledge. And then we went right into the pandemic. And it was a blessing in disguise because I was able to travel around and I was able to be boots on the ground, helping people, making sure that people were taken care of. And because I had the strong work ethic that I had, I was able to work the extra hours and do the things that needed to be done to help people meet their needs. So I would say my biggest setback at that point would have been I hit that point of burnout that I didn't know if I could come back from, and I was able to find my way back.
Very nice. I know the pandemic was probably one of the hardest things for the industry you're in right now. What was the biggest challenge then? Because I imagine you deal with patients and people that are very easily exposed and very vulnerable, I would say, to what was happening.
Well, for us, everyone went into lockdown, so they only saw the people in the building.
Hmm.
I think what the hardest part was at the beginning of the pandemic, COVID was a different animal than what it's mutated into now. And it was the first couple of months not seeing survivors. And so it was you saw that guilt that the staff were carrying around. You'd see the shoulder shrug down and the looks of failure. And you know that people were going home and they were quarantining from their loved ones. And you know the people in the buildings were quarantining from their loved ones. So there was the isolation, the depression, so just the mental health issues on top of the physical health issues. Um, I think what was really eye-opening to see was when we started seeing survivors and you saw the people smiling again and then coming back from that. On top of everything that we were working with in the buildings, we also had the public perception of where a lot of people didn't think COVID was real. And they didn't realize that here we are every day, not knowing if we're going to have PPE, not knowing if we're going to be walking into an outbreak, at least from my perspective, because I would travel around to different buildings. And that was probably the most interesting part, is that you would be traveling around the buildings, you'd see these people who didn't get to see their loved ones, these people who'd be quarantined, and then you'd be going out talking to your own family on the phone, and your family would be telling you COVID isn't real. So on top of the physical issues that you saw people struggling with the respiratory portion of it, you also had the side of where people didn't think it was real.
Yeah.
hmm
Um, it's very hard for someone who gets into a facility like this. And I would say the last years of everybody's life are very important for the family, for the connections that they have with their loved ones. How do you manage people that are not only disconnected, but they're ruptured from their families? It's and I understand it's an individual approach with each patient, but as a leader, do you have any kind of strategies to make them, feel more like home, with no, disturbance in their daily life rituals, anything that, like you said, think outside of the box that people don't think immediately to it?
So when people move into assisted living facilities, skilled nursing facilities, I always try to tell them your first 24 hours are going to be the hardest. And then after that, you want them to be able to become acclimated. For me, my door is always open when I'm in an office, and I invite people to come in. I also go out and round the hallways. I want to make sure that I see people, people see me. But also, I do try to spend time with people, because the thing is that that's their home and I'm a guest in their home. So really, if you are going into someone's home and you're a guest in their home, how do you behave? You want to have that over the top customer service. You want to make sure that if you tell them you're going to do something, you do it. How do you build trust and rapport with somebody? It's repetition, it's keeping your word, it's being a good human. And so doing those things over and over and over, then they know that they can trust you. And when they can trust somebody who's in their home, more than likely they're the way that they are feeling, how they're going to be happy with you and with your service, it's going to increase. One of the things that I really love to do is that when I'm going through to do my assessment, I will actually go make sure that I'm in their room. I do a tour of their room with them, and I want them to show me their pictures, show me your family, tell me what's important to you. I want to know your background. I want to know, did you go to college? Tell me, where did you travel to? What are you most proud of in your life? I want to know what religion you are. Are you a Christian? Are you Jewish? Are you Muslim? I want to know you as a human being. And that way, when I know you as a human being, I can plan for your individualized care, and I can disseminate that information to other people so they can care for you in an individualized manner. So that's another way to build trust, is that when you look at them as an individual and not just as room 106, they know that because they feel seen. And I feel like when you make someone feel seen and heard and understood, they're going to go to bed and they're going to be much happier at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's very touching. Those moments are something that, it's priceless in the life of a human being. And I remember, I had a personal experience. My mom died a couple of months ago, and she was in a nursing home. And I'm visiting her very often in the last few months, and I interacted with the staff there that was taking care of her, and I was astounded by the amount of details that they knew about me, about my family, about, the relationships I have in my family, just because my mom was, kept talking about these things and share, like, basically her private life with those people. And in many cases, those this staff that's taking care of them, is their family at that time. How do you hire those people?
So when you're sitting down with somebody in an interview, you're looking at them, you ask questions. You want to know, how do you feel when you get close to somebody if they pass away? Because if they tell you, oh, it doesn't bother me, then in the back of your mind, you're going to say, well, then you didn't get close. And we're always taught, don't get close, don't become attached. But how can you not? If you're taking care of the same people day in, day out, you know every little thing about them. So when you're interviewing somebody, that's another thing you want to ask is, are you paying attention to detail? Can you tell me what your child likes to eat for all 3 meals? Because when you're a direct caregiver to the same people day in, day out, you're going to know that they like tea with sugar in it and milk.
Right.
You're going to know that they do not like pineapples. And that's just for dining. If it's, their bedtime routine, you're going to know that you bring them to their room, you set them up to brush their teeth, but while they're doing that, they have to watch the news. So you have to know what channel the news is on, and you set them up, in front of the TV so they have their basin and everything. They can brush their teeth. So when you're looking to interview to ask those types of questions about the attention to detail, how do you feel when someone passes away that you've taken care of? If they've never done the job before, you want to ask them if they're prepared for that. Are you prepared to become close to somebody knowing that you could eventually lose them? Because it's going to happen, whether or not
Yeah.
you want to. Are you able to hold somebody's hand while they take their final journey? Because that's a big one. A lot of people have to realize what that final journey looks like and that it looks different for everyone. But are you ready to say, no matter what comes ahead of us, I'm ready to walk that journey with you? And some people say yes, and then they get into it and they realize, oh, well, this definitely is not for me. And some people say yes, and they get into it and they say, wow, this is everything I've ever been looking for.
Yeah, so true.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to your own self as a professional, what do you think the biggest trait of your mindset is to get you where you are right now?
I would have to say that everything is figure outable. And so at the end of the day, no matter
Because
what,
you're a solutionist.
yes, but no matter what problem comes in front of me, we can figure it out. If it's the power's out and we need to figure out how to get this bed lower, we're going to find a mechanical crank. And maybe the maintenance guys aren't here today, but we're going to go check in the maintenance room to see what we can find. If it is that someone is passing away and they used to love going to the salon, we're going to call a local cosmetologist and we're going to see, hey, can we bring the salon to her? There is a way to figure out almost everything. And the things that we can't figure out, we have to have the ability to accept and to accept it with grace. Because occasionally there are things we can't figure out. We can't figure out how to extend life. The human body can only do so much, even though it's the most amazing machine out there. We know that. We can't extend life any more than what we already are at this point. So we have to be able to accept, this might be the end of life journey, and we accept it with grace. And the things that if we can't change something, we have to know that it is okay to let go and to accept.
Yeah. Do you have any specific, I would say, rituals, routines, habits that you think don't get enough credit for your performance, for your way of living, for where you are?
Oh, I think people would probably be really surprised to know that I actually do yoga and breath work and meditation on a regular basis. I didn't do that so much when I was young, as I had talked earlier about burnout and not understanding how to take care of myself and have boundaries. As I've aged, I would say that is something that I now have to work at, is making sure that I do take care of myself. You can't pour from an empty cup, right? So if I am going to sit here and give and give and give, I have to make sure that I take care of myself as well. And I think that people who know me would probably say I'm not the greatest at it, but I work at it. And that is, I think, probably what I would have to attribute to being able to do what I do every day. Because I've talked about the direct care that I do every day, or when I'm in buildings and consulting. I actually haven't talked much about the fact that I'm a chief operating officer of a consulting company, which means I run a company on top of all that too.
Well,
Consultants.
yeah, I was about to ask you about this.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny to me that people like yourself that think outside of the box and that they have this kind of drive, they are a business owner.
Mhm.
How do you explain that?
I would think it's because we have an entrepreneurial mindset. And so for us, it's that we can continue to do under someone else's thumb, or we can start our own and go that way and grow and see how we can transform things. I'm actually a co-owner of Alliance Senior Care Consulting with my partner, Lisa McNeil. Lisa is the CEO and founder. She is the majority owner. So she is the one who founded. She brought me on with her. And what I do have to say is that it is our drive to be able to help as many people as possible. And what we found is that within working for one company or one organization, we only get to work with the people in that company and that organization. By doing what we do and sharing our knowledge and helping multiple different companies, multiple different organizations, we're able to share what we see works in places, what doesn't work in places. And we're able to help more people and touch more lives that way. It's not just the lives of the patients, the residents, tenants, whatever term we're using for them today. It's the lives of the families, the employees, the owners, the CEOs. It's everybody from the nursing assistants up to the C-suites that we get to interact with. And I would say that having that mindset that we can, help more people, teach more people, and at the end of the day, just do great things is probably where a lot of it comes from.
In this industry, what do you think it's the next step? It's the next development.
Uh,
You know, not necessarily to change what we're doing right now, but in the future, How do you think, how do you see things developing?
I see it with technology, the technological advancements that we're having, especially with AI. I think we're going to see a lot of good things come from that. We're going to see operations streamlined. We're going to see care delivery systems streamlined. I also think that with the use of things like virtual reality, that we're going to be able to provide better care, especially for people with dementia, because we're going to be able to help them get back to where their mind currently is. People with dementia, their short-term memory is no longer intact, but their long-term memory typically stays intact depending on what stage they're in. And so for them, we may be able to bring that back to them. For people who aren't able to travel, we are able to use virtual reality to bring them to different places. And in turn, that's going to increase their mental health and just make them happier. So also with, I don't know if you've ever seen any of the robots that they've come out with who are able to do the Macarena with residents, or that they're able to call bingo for residents. I think we're going to see more of that. And so people who are using robots to fill the gaps where we just don't have the staff right now. Because unfortunately, as we all know, healthcare is very shorthanded. And so we are having to be creative on how we bridge those gaps.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's an interesting development anyway. And I remember 25 years ago when the internet just came out, right? Everybody was like very excited, and year 2000 was like the epicenter of technology development. And 25 years now later, we're talking about AI. It's probably going to be the next bigger thing that is happening in healthcare. Virginia, with what you know right now and your experience and your wisdom, looking back at yourself when you started, what kind of advice would you give to yourself?
Don't give up. Take a breath. You made it through the first day. And the reason I say that is my first day as a nursing assistant, my high school best friend was my preceptor. And she told me, if you can make it through today, you can make it through anything. And I was a 16-year-old girl who had never worked with people with dementia before. And let me tell you about wrong approaches. I learned the hard way that day, every possible way that you do not approach someone with dementia. And I made it through that day, and I kept showing up. And I think if I could go back to my 16-year-old self and tell her, as long as you keep showing up, you're going to do great things. You're going to help a lot of people. And hopefully you're going to make an impact on this industry and the people in it.
One step at a time.
Yep, one step at a time.
Thank you very much for being here. I hope people would look more into your work and follow you and your example, because I think we need a lot more people like yourself in this industry and in general in healthcare. I hope you're going to do good things and great things in your field, and hopefully we'll reach out back again with you and see where you are.
Yes, I would love to do a check-in down the road.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's a wrap on Stellar Success, Leveling Up for Medical Pros with Dr. Tudor Francu. Interested in joining us? Go to stellarsuccesspodcast.com/guest to apply. Stay stellar and level up.